Okay, good afternoon again, everyone, and thank you once again for joining this webinar. My name is Alain Samar. I head up customer care at Skybits. I've probably talked to many of you guys, so certainly appreciate you taking the time to join this webinar and learn more about this new feature we've launched recently. So let's talk about this feature. So I'm not going to move the mouse right now on the screen, just going to spend a few minutes. Well, first let's go over some logistics. So as you probably have realized by now, all your phones are muted. We find it works a lot better. There's a lot of background noise otherwise. But we certainly invite questions. So there's a chat box that you can find, and there's a Q&A button also. So either or of those will work. And you can type in your question as we go along. And I'll try to cover as much as I can. If we run out of time, then I will certainly address those individually at the end of the webinar. So, trailer pool. So you guys probably know a whole lot more than me about trailer pool, but basically, you know, you may have a need to keep track of certain landmarks, and maybe you've got contractual obligation with some of your customers to maintain a number of trailers at those locations. So this feature will allow you to manage those trailer pools and set them up with a minimum number of trailers at locations and maximum number of trailers at locations. And the system will monitor that and will give you feedback through a graphical interface, and we'll review all of that, of course. But we'll indicate, you know, how well you're doing against those pools. So whether you're within range or perhaps you're below minimum or above maximum. And I'm sure all of those conditions, you know, are good and bad depending, you know, what you have to provide your customers, and this can certainly help you manage those trailer pools and on the same token, increase your efficiency or availability of trailers at the locations. So the trailer pool itself is set up at the account level. So when we talk about account, you know, in this case right now I'm logged into this account called Bob Transport and Storage. So one admin or a delegate of the admin could set up the trailer pool, and everybody, so any other users that have visibility to the account could also be given privilege to have visibility to the report and even run those automated reports that we'll cover later, where an email could be sent to you on a regular basis to view the trailer pool information. But what's important to note here is there is one person or a delegate that can manage the trailer pool setup and then make it available to everybody within the company, within the account. So what we'll cover here is a couple of things. So obviously we'll go over how to set up those trailer pools, and you know, you'll be using either a landmark or maybe a group of landmarks to set up those trailer pools. I'll show you how to add and remove them from your setup, and then of course how to set up your min-max values. And there's also one additional feature for each trailer pool that we call the idle threshold. And this is to monitor how long trailers are sitting at those trailer pools. So that could be also a good piece of information to know that even though you're maybe within range of your trailer pool, trailers are sitting there maybe a little longer than you'd expect. And that's what the idle threshold is going to measure. And then we'll look at how to set up those trailer pool to be emailed to you automatically. And then we'll review the dashboard, which is on Insight Now, to view graphically how the trailer pool is doing. And there are a number of filters you can apply as well to look at the data. And we'll also review trends information. And some of you may be familiar with trends. We've launched this feature a little while ago. And the same trailer pool data is available there, but as the name implies, trends, we're looking now at data over a long period of time, so a wider period of time, to look at what's happening over time with the trailer pool. So, no pun intended, but looking at the trends of your trailer pools. Okay, so I'm going to start moving around now on the screen, going under Manage Settings, which is the first place you'll be going to do your trailer pool setups. And at the very bottom here, the last menu is Trailer Pool Setup. And if you do not have this privilege right now, after the call, you could either shoot an email to customer care or give them a call, and they can turn on this feature for your account. So, again, we'll go over these three buttons here, which is the setup, the scheduler, and the upload feature of the trailer pool setup. So these are all the three areas that you'd want to work on to set up your trailer pool. So in my case, I've already got some trailer pools that have been set up on the right side here. In your case, the first time you get in, this section will be blank. So this is where you'll build your trailer pool area. On the left side are the landmarks that you've got in your account, and you can pick any of those landmarks to turn them into a trailer pool. If you have not created landmarks yet, there is a menu under Manage Settings as well where you could create landmarks, and then those become your trailer pool location. But assuming you've got your landmark set up, you could pick a particular landmark, or perhaps you'd want to pick a few, and you'd simply hit your control button, like just normal Windows-based features, to select multiple entries. So the three that are highlighted right now, I can hit the Move button, the top one here, and those would come over to the right side. So I could highlight one and set up my minimum and maximum and the idle threshold in days if I choose to do so on the right side here. So I'll pick this first one here, and I'll go with, a value here of 1 for my minimum. I'll go 4 for my maximum. I'm only going to go with 2 on the idle day, on the idle threshold. And again, this idle threshold is an optional feature or settings. But basically here, what we're looking for, what we're going to be measuring against, is to let you know how many of the trailers at that pool have been idling for this period of time. So again, more information about the trailer pool and what's happening with that location. So once you've entered your values here, you can hit the Save button, and this will come up, a screen will confirm. So I want to set these three locations with those values and hit the Confirm button. And now those are going to be added to my trailer pools. If you need to make changes to this trailer pool, so whether it's changing the min-max value or the idle threshold value, you can select one entry and enter your new values in here and hit the Save button again. You go through the same process of confirming that value. If you need to remove a trailer pool altogether, you would simply highlight it and hit the Remove button, and again, you'll have confirmation. Here's a Save button, and indicating that now I'm going to be removing this particular trailer pool, and you confirm, and this trailer pool is no longer part of this particular setup. So again, on the left side here, these are all your available landmarks, which again can be turned into trailer pools. You select them, move them over, and then set up the min-max values and the idle threshold, should you do so, on the right side here, and then ensuring that you save every time you do that. You could also, and I didn't want to spend time on the landmark group features, but there is a feature here called landmark groups where you could group landmarks together, and this can be used for both the trailer pool feature and the yard check feature, which is also a fairly recent feature. And if you do have groups of landmarks already created, this could speed up a little bit setting up the trailer pool itself. So if you had, again, landmark groups set up, you would go over here and click on the Search by Landmark Groups. You would type in your landmark groups, which in my case was trailer pool test. I hit the Find button. And these are the landmarks that are in that particular group. So if these are all the ones I'd like to add to my trailer pool setup, I can select them all. or use the Move All button, or I can move them individually if I don't need to bring them all over. So you can start by looking for a landmark to turn into Trailer Pool through the screen here by either using the landmark name, or again, if you've got a landmark group that's already been created, you can certainly use that as well. Okay, so while we're on this page, over here is the email address where this report is going to be sent to once it is scheduled. And we'll cover the next button over, which is a scheduler. But this email address is the email that is within your preferences for each user. So each user that will have access to the Trailer Pool feature will see their email address show up there. And if they check this box, if you check this box here, you will then receive these reports as long as the scheduler has been set up by the administrator of the account. So I'll cover that in a minute. So again, every user that has access to Trailer Pool can come in here and type in, or actually just simply check that box to receive the report as long as the admin has scheduled this report. So now under the scheduler, pretty straightforward. The first time you're going to set this up is when this report's going to be run every day. So, for example, if you'd like to get this report sent to you every morning around 6 o'clock in the morning, you would pick that daily time. Typically, if you choose to have it run every 24 hours, so on a daily basis, it will run once a day. If you'd want it to run every 12 hours, then you can set it up to be received twice a day, every 12 hours. But you may set it up for, I don't know, 4 times a day or 6 times a day, but only want to receive the first 2 maybe. Really up to you, but I would, again, up to you to choose, but my preference would probably be to be like 1, maybe twice a day, but there are other options here as to how often you want this report to be delivered to you. So again, this scheduler here is typically reserved for the administrator of the account and will be set up once, and then the report will run as per the schedule going forward. If the administrator needs to suspend or stop this scheduler from running, then they would simply check this box here, hit the save button, and there would be no more scheduled, and no one within the account, no other users would then be receiving the Trailer Pool report. So I'll leave this check for now. All right, we'll move to the last feature of the setup, which is the upload. So before I go there, I'm going to go back quickly to the setup. And you may have noticed when I was on this page, there's a download button here. So this button here basically downloads all the landmarks you've got in your account. And here's the file. And again, these are all your landmarks. And the top ones are the ones that I've set up as my Trailer Pool. If I want to make any changes, or perhaps there are a number of Trailer Pools that I'd like to set up, this download and /upload feature allows you to do this a lot quicker, a lot more efficiently. So all I would need to do here is find my landmarks. I want my min here to be 1 and my max to be 4 and my threshold maybe 2. I want this landmark as well. It's going to be a 2, a max of 6, and for this one I don't need to have an idle threshold, and I want this one here to be a minimum of 3 trailers and a maximum of 8, and I want to monitor idle time of 3 days. So you would update any landmarks you've got in your account and save this file to your local machine, remembering where you're going to save it, and you can save it as either a CSV or an Excel spreadsheet. And then you would come back to the setup screen under Upload, and you would choose a file that you've saved already, and then simply follow the instructions. And all the changes you've done in bulk through that Excel spreadsheet would then be uploaded automatically into your Trailer Pool setup. So that's also a quicker way, possibly, especially if you've got a number of landmarks that you want to turn into trailer pool. That's certainly a quicker way to do it as opposed to doing it one by one on the website. But certainly either one works. Simply pick the one that you feel is going to be better for you. Okay, so one more time, at a high level here under Manage Settings, go under Trailer Pool Setup, and this is where we see the actual setup that's been done right now for Trailer Pool. Changes can be done here individually. I can highlight a landmark, update my min-max and my threshold in days, or I can remove altogether any of those trailer pools if I no longer need to monitor them, or I can choose one that's on the left side, move it over to the right side, and then set up my min-max values as well. So that's all under the Trailer Pool Setup button, which is under Manage Settings and Trailer Pool Setup. So now let's look at what the data looks like once this report runs. So for this, you would go under Insight Now, which is the second menu here in the top bar, and go over to Insight Now Home. And the Trailer Pool dashboard is actually under the Operations tab. So you would click the Operations tab here, and this panel here in the bottom left corner would show me my trailer pool. So in this case, there's one trailer pool that's in range, and all of my other ones are below the minimum value I've set up, so there are 7 of those. And as is the case for every of those panels on Insight Now, if you see this icon here in the top right corner, you can click on it and get more details about the data that is within this particular panel. So there are a number of filters at the top. So that could be handy if you've got a number of trailer pools you'd like to analyze or look at data in particular. So let's say I want to filter this by state, for example. So simply pick your state, in this case here, Maryland, hit the Submit button, and you'll see the table below will be updated to reflect only landmarks within that state. Same thing with, if I'm just going to reset this, come back to all my values, I can pick a particular landmark as well, so I know what the landmark name contains. In this case, I'm going to go with Bob, hit the Submit button, and my table is going to update with that particular value. I think this trailer pool is no longer here. Let me check that. You can also filter by the status of your trailer pool. So whether you're below min or above max or in range, so below min, hit the Submit button, and these are all it. There are none right now that are above max, so nothing would show up in this view, and there's one that's within the range right now. So you can use those filters to limit your view, especially if you've got a number of trailer pools to monitor at once. Now, if we look at the data, so obviously on the left side here, we've got the trailer pool name, which is the landmark name. This button here will just give you a bit of details to where it is, the type of landmark that this is. And if we look at each of those individual columns here, landmark group is information to tell you in how many group this particular landmark belongs to. So this one belongs to the landmark group called Demo and the one called TP Test, Trailer Pool Test. So again, more information about that particular landmark and where it belongs. How many assets are at those landmarks? So maybe these are not very good examples here. I've only got one trailer pool that has one trailer at that location. And then the minimum and maximum values that I've set up for each of those trailer pools, and the corresponding idle threshold I've also set up for each of those locations. So I've got here 4 days idle time or idle threshold and so on and so forth. So this particular column here, asset above the threshold, measures how many of those that are at that trailer pool are above the threshold that you've set up. So all about counts here of units that either are below your minimum values for the trailer pool or above your maximum values, or whether or not they're above, or a number of units that are above your idle threshold as well. So that's the information that the trailer pool dashboard will provide. The report that will be sent out, if you choose to schedule it, will have the exact same information in an Excel spreadsheet. So that could be handy. Don't need to come and log into the website. You get this email first thing in the morning, take a look at it. Okay, you're within compliance of your min-max values, good to go. So it's the same information again, whether you receive the Excel spreadsheet through the schedule report or you come to Insight Now to look at the dashboard itself. Okay, the last piece that I wanted to review is under Analyze Assets and Trends, and then you go under All Reports, and there's a few reports here, but we'll focus on trailer pools for now. And my goal here is certainly not to confuse things, but I guess the main difference between Trends and Insight Now is the fact that Trends look at data over a longer period of time. So you can set what that window is going to be. By default, Trends looks at the past week worth of data with regards to the trailer pool. So it's monitoring the same pool that you've set up in the previous screen that we looked at, but now it's looking at this from a more holistic view, and you can change this window to be up to 3 months worth of data to see really what's going on with my pools over time. And this is probably more of maybe a managerial type tool, to take a look at how my pool's doing over time. Am I always below my minimum? Am I always above my max? I mean, either or of those can be a not so good thing. But this gives you a good view, again, over a wide range of time as to how your trailer pools are doing. So again, here by default, we're looking at last week's worth of data. So from the 17th till the 23rd, these calendars could be updated again to make this window as wide as 3 months. And now we're showing graphically again what the pools are doing. So we've got no pools that are above max right now. 80% of my pools are below my minimum, and I've got one pool that is healthy or within range at the moment, or during this particular week, I should say. Over here, we're looking at a little wider range of data, and this window will go up to 90 days eventually. On this particular account, I've only started this setup a couple weeks ago, so that's all the data we have. But you can see, historically what's happening with my pool, how often I'm above minimum or below my minimum, above a maximum, or how about my healthy pool. So again, this gives you a good indication as to where you are with your pools over time, and perhaps there are specific action you need to take to improve if there's such a need for you to look at that and improve how well you're maintaining those level of trailers at the various pools you're monitoring. We've got a heat map down below of where those pools are located. So you can drill down in each of those to get the details. So we get similar values here where you've got number of pools that are above, number of pools that are below, and number of pools that are healthy. So nothing on the above. We got 2 pools that are below min and 1 that's healthy. And further down, you've got additional details at the state level as to, again, how the pools are doing. So we've got 3 pools in the state of Pennsylvania, and right now 67% of those are below minimum, and the rest, 33%, are healthy pools at this point. So a lot of data here. Again, mostly well, again, not to confuse things, but to look at historical information rather than a time shot in a time frame in time as to how your trailer pool is doing. So this could certainly be helpful to help you manage and improve your trailer pool utilization, and ensuring that whether it's contract or handshake obligation you have with your customers, you're maintaining the right number of trailers at those locations. So these are the things I wanted to cover, so I'll open it up for questions. If you have questions, again, you can shoot them through the chat feature or the Q&A sections at the top, and we'll take questions as they come in. All right, so there was a question about whether or not there's the ability to add additional email address for the trailer pool, and at this time there isn't. So what I would suggest for this is the administrator has access to setting up the trailer pool, this particular screen here. That privilege could also be given to other users, but you can also give users visibility to view the pool. And so once they have the screen, their email address would show up in this box here, which is coming from the preferences of each user in the account. And as long as this box is checked here, this user would also receive that trailer pool report. But specifically to your question, there's not a place where you could type in a number of email addresses to send the trailer pool reports to. This would have to be set up individually for by each user. All right, so there was another question about the scheduler also, sending the multiple email. I think I just addressed that. There was a question about landmarks? Okay, so there was a question about creating landmarks. I can certainly go over this quickly here. So under landmarks, manage settings, landmarks, add button. And we offer two types of landmark, a circular landmark and a multi-point landmark. So multi-point being a polygon of any shapes, circular just being a circle, however big you want it to be. So you would start by giving it a name, however you want to call this landmark. I will demonstrate the multi-point. In my opinion, most of the time the circular landmark is going to do just fine. But if you have a need to really precisely define a particular location, or perhaps there are two landmarks that are real close to each other, then the multi-point is probably the way to go, or the easiest way to do this. I'm going to type in an address. You can also use a latitude, longitude from a trailer location. Hit the Add button, and this is going to bring up a satellite view. You can zoom in into this view. You can use a plus minus sign on the left side here, or use the roll button on your mouse. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. And then you would grab this editing tool up here, and you would simply position your mouse on the map and start drawing. And you click on every corner. You can make this whatever shape you need it to be. And once you're done, you double click, and this would become your landmark. So the last step would be to confirm the landmark down below here. I'm going to skip that step, but that would be how you would create your landmark. Pretty straightforward.
Can you add two or more landmarks as one trailer pool?
One or more landmark as one trailer pool? So there was a question about whether or not we can add one or more landmarks to a trailer pool. At this time, no. So I'm guessing you're looking to be able to add up the min-max values of two individual landmarks, but consider it one location. So at this point, we cannot do that. You would have to create, you can have a trailer pool for each of those locations and monitoring individual numbers for those. There's a question about, is there somewhere to change the idle time? In yard checks, this is computed in hours. I'm not sure I understand the question. Sorry.
Can we set trailer idle to landmarks? We have trailers in the past that move within a landmark and idle time reset.
Yeah, so there was a question regarding trailers that can possibly have their idle time reset while they're moving within a landmark. And basically this is triggered by a start event. So often the suggestion that I give for those particular cases is to increase the start threshold of the device so that it doesn't recognize a start event within the landmark. So you may be familiar with the way the units are configured with start and stop threshold, and those are time-based. So if the unit moves for that duration that's been set with the start threshold, then a start event will be recorded, and once the start event is recorded, that resets the idle time. So increasing the start threshold would mean that the unit would need to move longer time for the start event to be generated, would avoid those situations. Some of you may have your units configured to report yard moves as well. So yard move is typically another way of capturing movement less than the start event. So if a unit moves but doesn't move long enough to trigger a start event as per the start threshold of that configuration, then the yard move is going to kick in and record that. When a unit reports a yard move as opposed to a start threshold, the idle time is not reset in this case.
Can idle time be changed from hours to days?
If we're talking about, there was a question about can the idle time be changed from hours to days? I think you're referring to the yard move feature, and at this point, no, it's computed in hours only at this point.
Follow-up question to the move within the landmark and resetting idle time. Where can that be set?
Okay, so there's a question about the setup for start threshold that I mentioned earlier. So under contact asset and sensor configuration, smart sensor is where you could change the start and stop threshold of a device. So for example, this one here is set up to 5 minutes and 62 minutes. So if the landmark is large enough and trailers are moving within that location for at least 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes if it's a bigger location, that would trigger a start event. So increasing those times here would limit the cases where a unit would generate a start event while within the same location. So this is where you would do this. If you'd like to make these changes globally in your account, please contact customer care. We can do this in bulk. If you need to set up just a few trailers, some customers want to monitor or change settings on a few, then this feature here on their contact asset, sensor configuration, smart sensor, would allow you to do that.
Does Trailer Pool allow reports for individual landmarks to be sent to individual users, or is there only one comprehensive report sent to all users at once?
Yeah, so there was a question about whether or not a Trailer Pool report can be sent to an individual for only one location as opposed to multiple locations that have been set up. And the answer is no. So the Trailer Pool setup will contain all these locations that you've set up on the Trailer Pool setup. And that report, whether it's scheduled or you come to the dashboard, will include all of those landmarks as well. We're taking notes as these questions are coming in. These are certainly good suggestions. Okay, well, I certainly appreciate your time. I hope this was valuable and you've learned about this trailer pool feature. We're pretty excited about it. Again, if you'd like to have this feature turned on, either email customer care or give them a call, and they'll be able to activate the feature for you guys. So again, appreciate your time and look forward to working with you guys. Thank you very much. Have a good day.